Dawn stared at Dr. Tanner with a blank expression. She blinked rapidly a few times, as if opening and closing her eyes at a fast pace was a magical gesture that would teleport her to the past. Before she was here, listening to Dr. Tanner ruin her life with 4 simple letters. "I have what?" Dawn asked for clarification. Dr. Tanner's thin lips pressed into a line. "Acquired immune deficit." "I know what it means," Dawn hissed sternly. Dr. Tanner's pale skin instantly began to redden. Dawn cleared the feeling of desperation from her throat. Then she ran a shaking hand through her long, blonde Peruvian tresses. "How?" She had to clear her throat again to force herself to have this conversation. "How long have I had it?" In all but a few rare cases, if left untreated, HIV will progress to AIDS. Generally speaking, the time it takes to go from HIV infection to AIDS is around 5 to 10 years, if no medical intervention is made. Differences in time can be due to any number of factors. When was the last time you were tested? Dawn had been with Azu since she was 20 years old. She had given birth that same year to her oldest and only daughter, Snow. Then came Killian 5 years later, and then Prince just 4 years ago. Therefore, there was no telling when, in the last 4 years, Azu had infected her with this disease. However, Dawn was sure that Azu had indeed been the one to infect her. She had been faithful to Azu for over 18 years. It wasn't because he'd been so perfect that he had left no need unfulfilled. Quite the contrary. Azu had given all his attention to his first love, drugs. His children had come second, in particular, Snow, and then, and only then, did he give Dawn his consideration. After 18 years, they still weren't married. Yet Azu was all Dawn knew, despite his neglect. Azu's main focus had been on the streets, since he had started selling drugs back in the day, when he and Dawn had first met in Gary, Indiana. Even though Dawn had dreamed of stepping out on Azu, if only for one night to experience a man who would focus on her, she had been too afraid to do so. "When I was pregnant with my last child 4 years ago," Dawn finally answered. Dawn didn't know whether she was appreciative or offended at the warm smile that slowly spread across Dr. Tanner's face as he told her, "Well, this is 2019. People diagnosed with this disease live very long lives. It is no longer a death sentence." She guessed he was trying to soothe her, but it wasn't working. The rest of his words went in one ear and out of the other. Dawn sat in the hard, uncomfortable chair across from Dr. Tanner's big, brown antique desk, wondering how Azu had gotten so sloppy that he had done this to her. She knew her man. He was the typical whorish street dude. It was easy for him to be unfaithful because he was a rich and powerful gangsta. Those combined ingredients created the perfect recipe to make women fall at Azu's feet. Dawn had been able to compete for his attention when they'd first connected, but now, at 38 years old, Dawn knew her flawed body and aging face were nothing in comparison to the young hoes that threw themselves at her man. She'd always known that he cheated. There were days when he couldn't be accounted for, when he didn't answer his phone, and when his stories didn't quite match up. But she'd never had proof of his unfaithfulness. He had never disrespected her in such a way that he'd brought his infidelities to their front door. Until now.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.